This video will show you how to replace the fuel pump assembly on a Toyota Matrix. This will be accessed from under your rear seat. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we always like to do is make sure we're in a safe area to work on the vehicle. We're going to be working in the rear of the passenger compartment. Now we're starting under the hood. Along the driver's side, we can see where our battery is and one of our fuse boxes. The fuse box itself has a locking tab on the forward side. We're going to pop that free, and then it should lift up along the rearward side. There's just a small joint there. We'll set that aside. Now we're paying attention inside of this area. There's one fuse that we're going to remove here. We're looking for the yellow 20 amp fuse right along the side. Once you have that out, just give it a quick inspection. Make sure it doesn't look like it's burnt or damaged in any way. Now continuing on, you're going to attempt to start your vehicle. What you're going to find is the vehicle will crank, but it should not start. If it does start, it will typically stall right out. After that, you just want to try one more time. We need to confirm we release all fuel pressure. Now once you've confirmed you've released fuel pressure from the system, reinstall the 20 amp fuse into the same position as where you had removed it and reinstall your fuse box cover. When doing this, we're starting with the rearward side and we'll roll this down into the locked position. Double check to make sure that's secured. It's time to move along to disconnecting the negative battery terminal next. We'll use a 10mm to loosen the mounting nut, just enough that we can remove the terminal end from the battery. It's loose. A quick inspection of that will set it aside so it's making no contact. Now from in the rear of the passenger compartment, we have to make our way directly under the center of the rear seat. Now for this, we're going to carefully start dislodging the lower portion of the passenger side lower seat. Looking down along the bottom portion, you can see that we have two 14mm mounting bolts holding this in place. Just go ahead and remove those bolts. A quick inspection as we continue on, replace as necessary. Now we can take hold of the front of the seat and we're going to carefully pivot this up. Now you're going to want to hold this up with something. You can use a bungee cord of sorts if needed. Once you have the seat lifted up, we can see exactly where the fuel pump assembly is going to be accessed from. We have an access panel. Yeah, there is a wiring harness leading to this, but we're going to dislodge it from the fuel pump assembly underneath this area. So to dislodge it, you're going to find that you have four 10mm headed mounting bolts holding this in place. On my application, I can see that one of my bolts is rotted, so I'm going to have to use a removal socket, but typically you can just use the 10mm to remove all of the bolts. During the removal process, assuming you have not opened up the fuel system in any way and you have no vapors, you can use an electronic tool, but once we do have anything open and there's any sort of fuel vapors, you cannot. Now we should be able to take hold of this shield and pull it up and out of place. If you find you have a hard time, there's typically a sealant making its way around. Gently pry it out of place, but keep in mind we are reusing this plate. Do not damage it. Now that I have that lifted up, I want to gain access underneath this area. Now, if you wanted to, you could just reach underneath here to dislodge it, or we can dislodge this rubber seal. That's going to give us a little bit more slack. So I'm just going to take hold of that. We'll gently press it through here. Now we can slide this so we can have a better view of our electrical connector. Now, as far as this electrical connector, we do have a locking tab. We're going to make sure that we dislodge this and give everything a thorough inspection. Before we go too much further though, let's make sure we clean up this area. Since we have not opened up any fuel lines or any of the fuel system in any way, you can use an electronic vacuum cleaner. If you have any fuel vapors, just go ahead and use some compressed air. We want to make sure nothing makes its way into the fuel system. Now, as far as that locking tab, typically you can just squeeze it in by hand. If you find you have a hard time, you can use some leverage. I'm just using a small pocket screwdriver. Now I have that disconnected. A quick inspection for corrosion. We should be able to set this aside, giving us ample room in this area. Now we're going to move along to our larger line leading up along this area, and then we'll continue to that fuel line leading towards the engine. Now to dislodge this, we actually have a red locking tab. Now this tab will slide out towards the passenger side, and on the driver's side of this, there's two little ears. As far as these ears, they have tabs that protrude inward towards each other, preventing this from sliding out of place. So we're just going to have to use a small angled pick and a screwdriver. We'll try to grab onto both of those ears. Once we have them dislodged far enough, we can make our way in between here and gently pry as necessary. You want to be extremely careful not to cause any damage to this as you continue on. Now we can take hold of this, we'll carefully pull it out of place. There shouldn't be any fuel, but you're going to find that you have fuel vapors in the air now. Just a quick inspection of that connector. This looks good. Let's go ahead and set that aside so we can continue on to our next fuel line. Now for this one, we have a yellow locking tab. This locking tab also has small locking ears along either end. So we'll have to gently start prying this out straight rearward. At the same time, we're paying attention to our locking ears on the opposite side. Just gently prying. I'm holding that ear away. I can go over to the other side, same process here. And now we should be able to slide this out. Just use my angled pick. I want to try to get around these ears so I can help them out of the positioning. A thorough inspection of that locking clip. If it looks like it's damaged, you have to replace this. This is a safety item. Now we can remove that fuel line from the fuel pump assembly. There could be fuel in this area. Just a quick inspection of that line as well, just as before. This is not damaged. We're going to set it aside. Now at this point, we do have a little bit of fuel up along this area. Let's just be careful not to get it inside of the passenger compartment. Now we can start removing our locking ring. We need to have a tool that can grab onto the ears of the locking ring itself. Keep in mind, as we start turning this counterclockwise, this has 4 small locking tabs making their way around. We want to ensure that these are not getting caught on anything as we continue on. We'll just apply some pressure. Now sometimes this is harder to turn than others. This is moving, so we're doing pretty well here. We'll remove our locking ring, give it a thorough inspection along both sides, confirming it's not cracked or damaged in any way. If it is, you have to replace this part. This is another safety item. Now we're going to take hold of the fuel pump assembly and lift it up and out of the fuel tank. If there is any fuel in the fuel tank, more than likely you're going to have some on the fuel pump assembly as well. So we have a collection receptacle handy. As we start lifting this up, there's also going to be a level sensor, so we want to go ahead and take hold of that. We have our float. And there it is, friend. Once you have that out of position, the next thing we need to look for is our rubber seal. You're going to find that your brand new fuel pump assembly came with a rubber seal, so we're going to remove and dispose of the original. Continuing on, we have a clean rag. We're going to wipe around the area that the seal and the fuel pump should sit. Now we've cleaned and inspected our fuel tank. There's no damage here, so let's continue on with our brand new sealing ring. That just fits directly into the groove along the top of the fuel tank. Now, once I have that in position, I can continue on with my fuel pump assembly. We need to make sure we have it in the proper orientation so our lines and electrical wiring connector aligns in the proper position. Now, as we bring our fuel pump into place, we want to pay attention to the one locating tab on it. If you were looking at the fuel tank itself, you can tell exactly where that needs to align with. We'll carefully bring this down into position and continue on with our locking ring. We have our fuel float. We'll come in at an angle so we can slide that down into place first. We're gently bringing this down, aligning our alignment tab, and now we can continue on with the locking ring. As for this locking ring, we thoroughly cleaned and inspected the inner edge here. We know that everything's in good condition. The upper portion, it's okay if it's a little dirty, just can't be broken. We're holding down on the fuel pump assembly as we turn this clockwise. We'll turn it as far as we can by hand and then continue on with our tool. We need to make sure this is properly secured in place so we do not have any fuel vapor leaks. Okay, right there feels as though it's tight. Now at this point, I'm going to take hold of my fuel pump assembly and confirm it does not move around. This does not move. Let's continue on with our installation. We'll continue on with our fuel line. As far as this fuel line, we know that we still have our seal in here. It's not damaged in any way. We'll go ahead and take this, we're sliding it down into the fuel pump assembly. While pressing it down as far as possible, we'll continue on with our yellow locking tab. Now, as far as this yellow locking tab, it does have a small ridge, and that ridge needs to be facing up. We're gently pressing this into position. Once it's fully seated, take hold of that fuel line and attempt to lift it up and out of position. It should be able to pivot, but it should not be able to lift up. If it does, you're gonna have a fuel leak. Now let's continue on to our next line. This one's considerably larger. We know we have our seal on the inside here, so we're just going to take this and we're sliding it into position. Once you have that pressed in as far as possible, make sure you lock it in. We're just taking that red locking tab and pressing it towards the driver's side of the vehicle, and then we'll take the line and attempt to remove it. It should not slide out of place as well. So now we have our metal protective plate and of course our electrical connector for the fuel pump assembly. We're going to take that electrical connector, we're lining it up and pressing it in. After our audible click, a light tug to confirm that's secure as well. Now we can take this shield and we're going to put it in the proper placement. One thing about this is as we bring it into position, we need to make sure that our rubber seal is up and through the upper portion here. As you can tell, that was fairly simple overall. Now let's have a quick look at this. We can see there's a groove making its way all the way around this entire seal. That groove is going to sit around this plate here, so let's go ahead and get that aligned. For this, I'm just coming in at an angle. We'll gently work it into the proper position. Let's go ahead and get this shield in place. Now, as you remember, the shield itself has 4 mounting bolts, 1 for each corner. Go ahead and start them in and then snug them up. Now, one of mine I am replacing. You only need to replace them if it looks like they're rotted or damaged. Now, since we do still have fuel vapors in the air, we are not using any electronic tools for the rest of this installation. Keep in mind, as you tighten each one of your pieces of mounting hardware, you're only screwing into plastic. You don't want to strip them out. Just make sure they're snug. Double check to make sure this is completely seated so you don't have any moisture or debris or even fuel vapors making its way up inside the passenger compartment. Just one last quick inspection here and we can reinstall our rear seat. As we bring that seat down in position, we need to pay attention to our seat belt buckle. This is extremely important, obviously, for safety here. So we're holding that up as we bring the seat down. Now, when you bring the seat down, we need to make sure the seat brackets are in the proper position. They need to be aligned with their corresponding mounting ports. Now, if you were to bring this down and have this in the wrong positioning, you can tell that we cannot install the mounting hardware properly. As for this mounting hardware, just go ahead and start both of them in by hand. After that, we're going to snug them up and we're using a hand tool. Double check to make sure the seat's properly secured in place. Let's make our way back under the hood. We'll take that terminal end, we're pressing it down onto the battery as far as possible. Using our 10mm, we'll tighten the mounting nut. Once you feel as though you have it tight, make sure it's secured to the battery. We need to have good contact here. Okay, friend, we've finished our installation. Now at this point, go ahead and hop in the passenger compartment. You're going to attempt to start the vehicle. You may find it takes a couple extra cranks to actually start, and once it does, it should continue running. While it's running, just double check to make sure you have no fuel leaks. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.